Chiefs are looking for answers to their DT problem because Omarr Norman-Lott is not going to be playing snaps for you. Who will today on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome in, Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day. We're brought to you by FanDuel today. Right now, every new customer can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you win $300 in bonus bets to use across the app wherever you like. That is the action that you want to get into. So get there, get it done, and you're going to be on your way. We are on our way now because we are searching. What do the Chiefs do about their current D-line depth, particularly with the news about Omarr Norman-Lott and where they have to go? They did put him on IR, and there is a corresponding move today. We'll talk about that first. And then, is this team sustainable? Is what they're doing now something they can take into the future and repeat and rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat? That's coming up a bit later, and we'll give you a first look at where we're at on the Commanders. Matt Derrick's a little bit beside himself today. We will have him join us here later in the week. But, Chris, it all comes back to this. We've covered this team for 9 years together, and I don't know that we've been in this dire of a situation, folks. If you want Chris's work, go to KC Chiefs Corner. You can find me at RGR Football and NFL 33. I know they have to make a move, but I don't know if they've had to make a move this bad in the past.
I mean, I think that there's arguments to be made. The wide receiver position last year, I think that it kind of necessitated a move, and they went and got DeAndre Hopkins. So you have to hope that it turns out a little bit better than it did for the Chiefs last year. But I do think that they need to make a move at the defensive tackle position, and maybe it's not even a trade. I mean, there is a guy sitting out there that people have to wonder if he's going to be available and if he's ready to play. And obviously, he got cut from an interesting situation in Las Vegas, but they got to do something.
I don't know that he's ready to play. That is one Christian Wilkins, who we've theorized about a bit, but did have a Jones fracture, is not somebody that we know is ready to go. I think he ought to be. He claimed to be in camp, but I don't know. I don't see anything popping up about him, and that seems like a bit of a gamble to take on him, right? But is it less of a gamble than like 39-year-old Calais Campbell? I don't know.
Well, it's a gamble, but at the same time, like, bring him on the practice squad, let him practice for a couple of weeks and get up to speed. He gets a paycheck. He doesn't have to, be active game one. And quite frankly, have him go be on the practice squad for 2 weeks. Have him be on the practice squad for this week prepping for Washington. Have him be on the practice squad for the week prepping for Buffalo. It doesn't necessarily help you right now, but after you come back from your bye, I would think that if he is ready now or close to ready, it should get him close to game shape by the time that they would be coming back from their bye against after the Bills.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that he probably, of all the people that we could talk about, and there are numbers, we did just put out a piece on NFL 33. If you guys want to look around the league, you're welcome to check that out. I like the concept of trying to go after somebody who's played before. Obviously, he has a wealth of experience and has been an impact player at the past. If he's healthy, I think that slots in really well to not only help against the run, but to provide some pass rush as well. Jordan Phillips is another veteran that is on a practice squad where you don't have to make a trade. You can go sign him from there, although that is voluntary. Practice squad players elect to take offered contracts onto 53s. They don't have to. They're not obligated. So that becomes a little bit more of a increment there that you have to kind of put that into it. But there's a lot of people floating things around about guys like Linval Joseph, who's like 78 years old, or William Joseph, who's not much younger. Like, there's just not a lot out there right now.
Why don't we just go get John Randall while we're at it?
I mean, hey, I'll do the face paint myself.
You look at what this is going to mean for this team, and they do got to figure out something at the defensive tackle position. I don't know what direction they're going, but you could argue that maybe you don't even go defensive tackle and you look at defensive end because your pass rush hasn't been great. I don't know that I would. I mean, that's not the way that I think they should be going, but at the same time, I would get it if they went that direction instead. Or do you want to mention who they made a move to bring up? Just is an interesting corresponding move.
Just because I'm a little excited. Yeah. Kevin Knowles is now on to your 53, folks.
Which doesn't make sense, but.
Well, it might, though, and I'm going to put it together and see what you think. I thought he was on the fringe to make it out of training camp. He's played good
Me
special
too.
team snaps at times, right? So when elevated, I think he can give you something. And what it allows you to do is to keep Christian Fulton from being on the field. And I'm starting to see what that's about. If you need a trade piece and a guy just got healthy, holding him out as a healthy scratch twice allows you to keep him healthy in order to try to move him. And if you're bringing up Knowles to bolster what you have in the Fab Five as your depth cornerbacks, and you think he can contribute to a team that right now is getting good cornerback play and is getting W's, I think that makes Christian Fulton that much more able to be moved on from in order to get that DT.
Man, that would be interesting. I'm not going to say you're wrong because I really have no idea what they're doing at this moment when they bring up a guy at a position that they already have too many at.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, you can never have too many corners, but the reality is Christian Fulton hasn't played. He's probably not going to play again this week unless there's an injury in practice, just because you don't have the roster numbers. Look at, like, the Chiefs have 7 wide receivers that they dressed all of this past week.
It's crazy.
How are you going to that's not sustainable. And we talk about, I know we started this talking about the defensive tackle position, and I'll get back to that in just a second, other than to say it's not as huge of an issue this week, I think, that it could be against the Bills. So you would hope that they get it figured out before the Bills game, because I think they'll need the defensive tackle. But I don't think that a defensive tackle is going to be a huge hindrance to having a chance to beat the Commanders, mainly because I still feel like Jaden Daniels is going to be out. And even if they try to, rely on the running game a little bit more than you normally would, I feel like Kansas City is going to be able to handle that because they're not going to be scared of, why can't I ever remember the guy's name? The backup quarterback in Washington. Mariota. There you go.
You have a block against Oregon players. That's all I know.
I have a block against anybody that was on quarterback with Patrick Mahomes, I guess.
Okay. Well, yeah. Mark's got some good pub there. And maybe he can pull something out, but he can't hurt you like Jaden Daniels. I agree with you there. Before we get to the Commanders, though, we are going to break down the latest on what they look like coming into the Chiefs Monday night game, at least as we know of as of today. Before that, the Chiefs bring in the determining factor of whether they can get a W or not. It is on them. The games they've lost this season have been on them. The games that they've won have been on them. Can they keep it up? Yes, they can, and we'll tell you why next. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering for your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets is a hassle. Between queues, login screens, prices jumping at checkout, it's really frustrating, and that's why I use Game Time, the app that gives you the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered every time at the best price, plus all the fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pull up Game Time anytime to get a couple of taps. I get amazing deals. I get to see where my seat is. I get to see my favorite NFL games for as low as $100. You can too. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, that's promo code LOCKEDONFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today.
Is it sustainable? I think that there's not much that you can argue that this is not sustainable. As outside the fact, if they get injuries, then obviously that's going to change things. But I will tell you this right now. Patrick Mahomes getting a 62 grade from PFF, that's sustainable. He can do that every single week.
In his sleep. I don't even know if he has to show up to do that. Folks, there's something out there, and if you've seen my social, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you grade Geno Smith as a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes last week when he went 286 and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions, I have some qualms to pick, okay? But to your point, he's been performing very, very well. arguably, if he stays on this pace, we could be talking about his best season. We could be talking about another MVP. We've already established that. Is that sustainable? The 62 grade down PFF is easily done. Can he sustain that? That's the question. Is there someone that can put him in a situation where he does make a mistake that is on him? I will tell you this. There's been enough near misses that one thing that he has to watch out for are those coffee house blitzes where the linebackers do drop out. And they mug and go right into his passing lanes because they know where the hots are. That's something that they have to address in the offense. But other than that, I don't see any reason he can't keep doing this.
Here's where this is driving me nuts. Last year, if we look at last year in 2024, how many yards do you think Mahomes threw for?
72.
3,926.
Okay.
928. Sorry, I was off. How many TDs? 26. He has 1,800 yards and 14 TDs in 7 games.
Leaving him a nice cushion of what is that, 30% of the remaining games on top of what he's done to this point, which is nearly doubling what he did last year.
Yeah, pretty much.
So 30% on top of 4K, that's another what?
He's going to be close to 5,000 yards. And,
yeah.
And 35 to 40 touchdowns.
That's pretty much 5,200 yards, right?
And I would argue that when you go into that scenario and you look at how that would play out, his stats are more than likely, as long, and again, with this caveat, as long as everybody stays healthy, his stats are likely to be better over the next 10 games than they were last year. And I will also say this, he played 16 games last year. He's probably, at this point, we kind of talked about this yesterday, he's probably playing 17 this year. Just the reality of the way the schedule is worked out. I mean, obviously, lots of stuff can change in the playoffs and whatnot, but you would think he's going to end up playing 17.
I have to think so as well, at least right now. I mean, that can certainly continue that. And here's the big boon for me. Is Patrick can keep that up. I think the offense can keep that up. Given what we've seen in that, Jalen Moore's been able to come in and lock down as the backup role. So much so that even today, Clark Hunt refused to comment on the Josh Simmons situation. We still don't know what's going on. Rumors swirl and continue to grow crazier and crazier by the day. We won't know until we know. I'm more concerned right now, honestly, about the feasibility of Trey Smith's back than I am about whether they have to have Josh Simmons back or not, because I think Jalen Moore is doing a stand-up job.
Yeah. And this is going to be something to watch when we start talking about injuries and whether or not Trey Smith is going to be able to play. That is going to be a problem. If I'm Kansas City and Trey Smith is still having back issues when they get back into practice, I don't even know if they're practicing on Wednesday. They may end up not practicing until Thursday since they don't play till Monday. That is one nice thing about this break for them. They have that extra day built in, so maybe that will help. But to me, if his back is still acting up on Saturday or Sunday, maybe you send him a game and you try to have him ready for Buffalo. I mean, it's not the best scenario, but I think that as long as the Chiefs play the offensive game plan that they've played the past couple of weeks, I think you can win the game without Trey Smith. Just because Patrick is going to have all the weapons available, and even going with the short, quick passing game, you have 4 or 5 options that you feel pretty good about. All I got to do is make one person miss, and it's easily a first down, and that moves the sticks.
It would be really interesting to not have Trey, especially given with Josh out. Jawan Taylor hurting with the knee too, although I do believe he would be ready to play. If you look at lineup, 60% of the Chiefs' offensive line is hurt or backup at this point. So that is difficult. And if you had told me that it would be Creed and Kingsley locking things down all season, I would not have necessarily agreed with you at the point.
No, and I think that is concerning, but I think when you look at how this is playing out, as long as Jalen Moore can stay healthy and play at the left tackle position, I think you feel, even if you have an issue with Jawan Taylor, I think Wanya Morris can step in for a game and be okay. It's being the consistent guy that's starting there that I think would be an issue, and I don't want him at the left tackle position, but I think he'd be okay at right tackle. So I feel okay with that. Caliendo did well enough against the Raiders, but again, it was the Raiders. They can give him help, and I think that you could feel good enough going into that game for one game if it gets your line healthy. But that's the big question: is it going to be enough to get your offensive line healthy? And I agree with you. I think Jawan Taylor plays. I know he's been dealing with the knee issue, but he was dealing with that since the preseason and the shoulder injury as well. I think he's going to be a guy that can go in and play. I just think it was a situation why put him back out there when the game's pretty much over at this point. Mm-hmm. No real point in having him out there. So I think he will play and he will be fine. But yeah, it's an issue with Trey Smith, and when you have a question and don't have a clue as to when Josh Simmons could be back, because we have no updates or any information on that at all.
No, and I don't know that we will until we do. We may see him in a press conference before we know that he's coming back.
It's possible, especially with the way the Chiefs do things. That's the worst part about this to an extent, is that they hold things so close to the vest, even if they know they're not going to tell anybody. And I will say this. The thing that surprises me the most about this whole Simmons thing is that you haven't heard anything from his agent. His agent is usually very vocal. So him not saying something is interesting as well.
Yeah. And if you were going to lay wager on where the bow breaks, it's probably there when we do hear something. But breaking is what the Chiefs can't do. And whether it's Mike Caliendo or Trey Smith, that is going to play a factor in this next game as we take a first look at the Commanders coming up next.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go, while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and you're in business. You can get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across their app. It's super simple. And if you know your first one, it helps you get on a roll. Without a doubt, it makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action, when you're involved. It's not just for the casual fan, but if you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes that game day experience that much more. You got to get into it. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app today and get started. It's at FanDuel. Now, there are a lot of aspects to this game. You can get a little bit more information in KC Chiefs Corner at rgrfootball.com and NFL33.com. But it comes down to a couple of things. Is what can they do to knock you off your game if you're the Kansas City Chiefs? And I want to start in the Payne zone because Daron Payne is the guy that's going to line up for the most part over the top of the right guard. And Daron Payne has a lot of experience. He's a 330, 335 plus. He is not somebody that I think you can take lightly, especially if you have a bad back. And so I am a little bit concerned about Trey there, but Caliendo can work around that. I don't think that the pass rush is the concern. He's got 15 pressures on the season. Started off the season hot, Payne did, with 2 sacks in week 1, but hasn't done anything since in terms of actually getting to the quarterback. So while that's a focal point, I don't think it's the end thing. I still think the tackles are really the bigger question mark, with old Von Miller still hanging out there at 67 years old or whatever it is. Everybody's ending in a 7 today, evidently. And Bobby Wagner's been played a little bit better. So
57.
Oh, hey, that's too close for comfort. Don't use that. So what is knowing that Payne and Kinlaw are the interior players with Goldman circling in? What does that tell you for this offensive line?
Well, I think that it's Trey Smith would be great. Don't get me wrong. I would love to have Trey Smith play. I think that he could probably gut it out, and I think he probably could have gone back in if the Chiefs didn't have that game in hand. So I do think that also probably played into it. There was no real reason to push him, and it actually works out to their favor to an extent because you get another guy in there that gets experience that can be ready for, a deep postseason run. So I do think that helps to an extent. I agree with you. I think Caliendo would be okay with Deron Payne. It is questionable how you're going to deal with the offensive tackle situation. I think Jalen Moore has shown that he has the ability to step in and be just fine at that position for the most part. I'm not going to say that he hasn't struggled with specific moves and specific players, but the reality is that you probably have a guy, at least play wise, that was looking like he could easily be top 10 left tackle in the NFL this season with the way he was playing, and maybe on an arc to be even better than that. I mean, Simmons was playing fantastic football, and so you look at that and yeah, it's going to be a step back, but you got to adjust and you got to make some changes. The one thing that I think actually helps the offensive line to an extent that we don't really think about or talk about is I do think the Chiefs have the ability to change the offense and how they're doing things and take a few guys, not a few guys, but take a guy out of the out of running a route and put him in blocking or chipping or however you want to do it with your tight ends or your running backs and help the offensive line to an extent. I do think that when you look at the quality of wide receivers you have, that helps your offensive line because you have guys that can get out and get free and get you some spacing and get you some yards, even if it's not necessarily the plays you necessarily want to run. I think the offense can still be useful or still be very good, not maybe great, if you can't give Patrick the time that he would normally want and be able to run all the plays you want. But I do think that it's viable. It's something that they can move the ball, they can score points. They just might have to take a little bit shorter plays and longer drives.
I agree with you. And it kind of plays into the Chiefs' hands in terms of being able to block what's coming at them. Jacob Martin, 235 pounds at most, did produce 7 pressures last week, so kudos to him, and he did get home. So they have to watch out for that. He'll line up on the right side of the defense most of the time against Jalen Moore, but not a guy that's going to overwhelm you with power every down. He'll get his every now and then, but he's got a little bit more to him in that, and I think it plays into Jalen Moore's maybe not his biggest strength, but certainly things that he's comfortable with. And that's what it's about in keeping Patrick comfortable. So the question begins then, if you're gonna let Patrick roll, what do they have to do? They have to get out to an early lead, especially with Daniels. And as we have this afternoon, update on Daniels is a hamstring injury, MRI negative. So could play. Don't know that he will. They're being very cagey about it out there in Washington, D.C. But he is not out. Absolutely. That's exactly what I would do. But he's not ruled out due to that hamstring. But I think it does put a detriment on his wheels, and the thing that scares you about him being a multi-go quarterback.
I will say this. If you're Washington, is this a game that you really want Daniels? And the reason I say that is because look at who you're playing. I'm not saying that you chalk it up as a loss, but you're playing the Kansas City Chiefs, who've been playing great football over the past couple of weeks. They've been scoring 30 points a game. Their defense has been playing phenomenal. Is this a game that you really want to march Daniels out there when the likelihood is you're probably 80% towards a loss at this point if he plays? Maybe even more if the Chiefs are able to do what they've been doing on offense and their defense shows up and gets any kind of pressure on them. But that's the bigger problem that you could have with Daniels is he is a multi-threat quarterback, but if he can't run like he normally does, he becomes a pocket passer more so than anything else. And I don't think you want that against this defense with Chris Jones pushing in the middle of the field.
I have to agree with you. And I'm just double checking here real quick to see if we have any other update on the pass catchers. because that's going to be a factor as well. If you don't have Deebo and you don't have Terry, is there a reason to continue to march a partially injured Jaden Daniels out there? I'm not sure that I could be convinced of that.
Yeah. And again, it's a question of if you're closer to, if you're figuring that this is probably going to be a loss, why risk your quarterback for a much longer injury? Because all it takes is the wrong hit on that hamstring, and it becomes could be a month, could be a month and a half, could be even longer than that if it's the wrong type of injury. So I just don't know that you want to put him out there when the biggest part of his game is not necessarily even being able to scramble, but it's being able to do kind of what Patrick does to an extent and extend plays and move around in the pocket. And if you are not going to be able to do that well because you have a hamstring issue, that's a big problem, and it's going to change the way you play.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Daniels is Daniels. If you don't have Deebo and you don't have anybody else, are you just going to run the ball? Are you going to try to just swallow your pride and get it done that way? I don't know. One thing I do know is Zach Ertz is going to get some attention. So we'll deal with that. And we're going to preview it for you later in the week, folks, as well as our actual preview show that will be coming out Sunday before the Monday night game. And Matt Derrick's going to be here as well. There are aspects to this Commanders team that you do have to watch out for. Their run game is probably underrated at this point. I do think it can get you yards is enough to sustain your offense against the Chiefs and try to keep up. I don't think so.
Well, I think it goes beyond that, because if Daniels doesn't play, their run game may be good enough with him, but without him, you can bring a safety down in the box because you're not going to be scared of Marcus Mariota, and you're going to dare them to try to beat you deep. So you're going to try to take away the run, which I do think that is a possible weakness for this Chiefs defense, just because of the defensive tackle issues. I mean, it's just so bad. I mean, you more than likely are going to have Marlon come up, I would have guessed, from the practice squad, right? This week. And you're going to have to do something else. You're going to have to, I'm curious to see who they get to fill the practice squad position of Kevin Knowles, because I would imagine it's going to be a defensive tackle or a defensive player, a defensive end, some D lineman, I would imagine, because I can't think that you're going to replace him with a corner when you have so many corners already on the roster at this point.
Yeah, I have to think so as well. We'll get more of that once the Chiefs put a designation out. As of today, the Commanders designated questionable both McLaurin and Samuel, but Dan Quinn did say that McLaurin's possible to practice this week. So we do have to keep an eye on that. We're going to update you all week long as we talk with Matt and we talk about the preview. We have plenty coming for you. Make sure you like and sub and do all those things, because we have a ton to go over. This is the critical stretch where the Chiefs can actually take off and take control. That's part of the equation as well. We're going to hit that tomorrow and the next day and get you ready for Monday Night Football yet again. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate your time and listening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.